Hello and welcome to September 15th, 2022. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. Boy, I really rushed it yesterday, didn't I? I spent so much time doing that Rambler video. I don't know why. Can't quite remember why I started doing that first. Why did I do I think I know why. Because I was hoping that it would break the ice. Because sometimes my brain is kind of in a fog. And I thought if I did that first, that it would break the ice. Also because there's more variability with this video, right? I can speed this one up if I want. Although those Rambler videos are taking them, that's it. Because if I went on and on and on like this one, and then I might not have time to do a Rambler video. But if I do the Rambler video first, then I can always, and I have time, like I do now, I can be a little more patient with this one. But still, I'm looking at the clock. I'm exactly at the same time I was yesterday, and it was just a long essay that I read, and I'm all over the place. How you doing? I do this video to remember my life objectives and principles, those that I outline in my book Going Alone, which tells the story of how I came about. It doesn't tell the story of how I collected all of them, but it tells the story of why I came up with them in the first place, why I endeavored to do that. And I talk about in this video yesterday and last night, and then I plan for today, and then I go over the Good Life Creed, these 7 principles and 7 objectives and 32 principles, and then I'll plan for the coming day. That awful coffee. Got this at the Hippie supermarket yesterday, and they didn't have any of your name brands. They just had Hippie coffee, and it's kind of growing on me though. It's really bitter. I don't think Yumiko will like it very much. Okay, so last night and yesterday. Slept pretty good last night. Slowly the alarm woke me up, although I did wake up in the middle of the night for a little while. It's getting cooler, so that's good. But yesterday was an awful day. Just awful days. It's been an awful week. Just not feeling it at work. I'm getting my work done. I'm like a lawnmower man. All the lawns look good at the end of the day. I mow 25 lawns a day. All the lawns I mowed yesterday came out pretty. They came out nice. But it really just took out of me. It just took so much out of me. It's so funny because then, never mind. So it just took a lot out of me. Sometimes things are like that, right? You get little cues and telemetry from others throughout the day that they're having the same experiences. Coworkers and friends. With friends, I'll be more open and say, "Wow, really, today sucks." They'll say, "Yeah, sure does." Yumiko and I were exchanging messages yesterday to that end. Anyway, but in terms of was it a virtuous day? It was insofar as I think I upheld my principles. I lived according to my principles. I was talking last week about that fighter pilot mode of seemingly being able to, be snugly buttoned down in my head with, managing the immediacy of my principles, of that which is within my control. That's largely kind of faded away. That was something that was there for about 24 hours or so. Don't know how to get that back. What that means is that the relative peace of mind that had arisen from that seems to have faded as well. Oh well. Peace of mind, easy come, easy go. Let's do the good life. My 7 objectives are as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. to have my life affairs and my relationships and my life's work in order. And they are. I have my finances and my this and that are all, they're not great, but they're in a settled state, at least. Yeah. 2, also my relationships are in fine shape. Honestly, I can't imagine doing better with my relationships. I've really focused on that since coming back from going alone. Going alone was, something that I didn't neglect my family when I went alone. I didn't really go alone. It was like every 2 weeks on a Sunday, I would go off into the desert or in the mountains of Japan. That's hardly neglect. It's, that's like men do when they go play golf, right? But my mind was definitely elsewhere. And I've come back from that. My mind is here. My attentions are here. So my focus is here. And I focus on my relationships now. It took me a long time to get to that point. And it wasn't that I did it before. Before I went alone, I did it as well, but I did it more out of obligation. I did it out of sense of duty. Now I do it out of a sense of want. It's because I know the nothing. And I'd rather be with my people than I don't even have any interest in really going back to the nothing much. Now, when I get back to Japan, I'll definitely adventure again. And I'll be doing that just for fun, for the best reason possible. Not for escape, but for fun. And also fun for profit too. I plan to supplement our retirement with an income from YouTube and Patreon, etc. So I plan to. I have all that apparatus in place. I have the Patreon set up. I don't tell anybody about it. The Patreon set up. I've got the YouTube. I've got all the channels. I've got the monetization stream. I've got the website, the blog. It's all there, ready to enable. And I'm going to go out and have adventures, and I'm not going to do the adventures to make money, but I'm going to engage all of that so that I can, because I would love to have that income source again to fund the adventures and to fund things for Yumiko and I to do that we'll document on YouTube. So it'll be funded for the best purpose. It'll feed back into the machine, right? So how did I get all that down that road? And then my life's work is fine. My book is well done. Still need to get it in there and edit a little bit on the Path of Wildness chapter. I want to remove some extraneous stuff in there. That's really the last thing I want to do. 2, all that I'm only on objective number 1. Objective number 2 is to to make good and effective use of my time. And so to that end, this week has been a great week. Even though it was a really hard week, I made good use of the time. Things are moving forward on my projects in a good way. So yeah, that's good. And I make good use of my free time too. Doing these Rambler videos is very satisfying. Capturing that. Even though, no, I don't think they're of interest to anybody else necessarily. But reading them, taking the effort of reading them and uploading them does something in my head. It really kind of locks whatever that message of Samuel Johnson's is in. 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, which is what I'm doing now, and managing the Good Life Creed, reciting it, thinking about it. 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, which is what part of the essay that I was reading. This is Rambler number 11 that I'm uploading. It's uploading right now as I recorded this video on the same device. He was talking about the regulation of emotions. That's exactly what the whole dang chapter was about. Next is 5 is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. Little things here and there. Like yesterday, I was walking into work and I had an old coffee cup in my hand, and as I walked, I saw on the ground there was one of those green plastic Starbucks stirrers. So I just reached down, picked it up, put it in the cup, threw it away with it. Little things like that, right? That's, if we all did little things, it would pile up. Into a amount of big things. Oh, this coffee's down to the bitter dregs. But I like it. Strong. That's good. I feel the strength. Next is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, and to apply apathy against those things that are outside of my control. And then finally, to do just one thing at a time, and to do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, to not multitask. Those are the 7 objectives. Those are the things that I'm aiming for. Those are the things that I would like to distill out of my life. So if someone ever asked me, well, Kurt, you don't believe in God. What's the purpose of your life? The purpose of my life is to make good use of my time, to have good principles that I can base my life on, to manage my emotions, to do good things, to exercise excellent self-control, so that I leave in my wake a well-lived life. Now, my 32 principles. Number 1 is the principle of war. To always be fighting against the things that I think are true, and the things that are proposed to me that I should believe are true, or that I encounter that I think along the way, hey, pick it up, hey, this might be true. I want to examine it from all edges, look at it with different light, hit it with my little rock hammer, see if it's sound, not hollow inside. Doesn't mean if it's terrible if it's hollow inside, but at least I'll know it's so. It could still be true. It could be a hollow truth. What the hell is a hollow truth? A truth of no consequence, perhaps? That's an interesting just play of words. I don't even know why I'm exploring this. A truth of no consequence, perhaps. No? Can't think of it. Like, there are truths of consequence, and there are truths of little consequence or no consequence. Like, it's of no consequence to me, the temperature of the surface of Pluto. But it is consequence to me what the temperature of the surface of Menifee, where I live, is going to be today. Because it's going to help me to regulate. I'm going to work from home today, regulate the temperature in this room, and on my electric bill, etc. Interesting, hollow versus solid truth. I don't know, something about that seems like it's just whimsy, but anyway, there you go. That was war. 2, the second principle is the principle of reason, which has 3 sub-principles. Excuse me. 4. Honesty. There's 4 sub-principles. I have to look them up. Honesty, objectivity, doubt, and is it integrity? Let's go to the book. Although I feel like I'm cheating when I do this. When I force myself to just do it out of memory, it digs into my head, but then I dig it in, when I make mistakes, it digs it in wrong. Humiliation. See, it's good to look it up. Reason has 4 sub-principles. Honesty, I want to be an honest man, honest with myself and others. Mostly when I'm talking about reason, I have to be honest with myself, right? About what I'm really looking at. What is this thing? Objectivity, to be looking at it, factually. Doubt, to be skeptical. And humiliation, to recognize that when I'm wrong, when I'm humiliated by a discovery of my error, that is helping me to get to, or that is me using reason to choose the upward path towards truth, in spite of the fact that I'm discomforted by my fact that I'm wrong. Excuse me. And there's a quote here from Aristotle. The life of reason is best and pleasantest, since reason more than anything else is man. So too, this life is also the happiest. Okay, let's see if I can continue. Next is the Homunculus. Since I don't believe in God and I don't believe we have a soul or anything like that, I think that that I die. When I die, I'm going to just disappear, to wink out like the surgeons, the anesthesiologists taking you out for surgery. I mean, that deep gone, but deeper than that yet, and never to come back. So since I don't think I have a soul, what I do have is I have this little consciousness that's in my head right now. I call that the homunculus, borrowing that term, using that old term to describe a little man within. So that's all I do with that. And I get this, and he's trapped. That's the thing, he's trapped. So the next thing is the next principle is the Anchorhold, another old term to describe religious devotees who would wall themselves into the side of a church and look through a squint at the service and have food and pushed in and their waste products pushed out and received out. Likewise, the homunculus is trapped within my head, squinting through my eyes, having sustenance brought in and waste products pushed out. And that fits pretty nice. Next is the home of good and evil. Right and wrong, good and evil don't exist out there in the universe. They exist as opinions that we hold in our head. As a result, they're subject to the examination of reason. The examination per and according to reason, and then conclusions based accordingly. Boy, this coffee, I think I'm in love with this coffee. It's flinging me high. Talk about caffeinated. Hippie coffee all the way. Wow. Hippie coffee for the win. Then comes... Do I like that even better? No, I think I'll stick with that one. Hippie. I do like the idea of hippie coffee for the win. That's a title. Next is what's after? Oh yeah, then comes I forgot. Sorry. No, hippie coffee is making me silly. Oh yeah, the principle of purpose. The three purpose in my life are: 1, biology, to be a good husband and father, to raise my daughter successfully to adulthood, and off she goes. 2, virtue, to live a virtuous life according to the good life creed. So I can be a principled man, a man of reason, and a man seeking out the well-being of thinking creatures. 3, mission. My mission is the sharing of the good life creed through the sharing of my book on Going Alone, which I really need to promote. I really need to find a way to start promoting this book, especially while I'm still here in America. It's the time to do that. I was thinking maybe of going on like a tour, book tour, now that we're opening up after COVID, going to bookstores and trying to peddle the damn thing. I really should do that. I was thinking about going and actually like giving little talks, setting up a little booth somewhere. What if I was to do that? Like set up a little stand somewhere, like at the pier at the beach, and have a pile of books there and simply talk about the good life creed. You need to do this exactly what I'm doing right now. Do the good life creed, the good life meditation out loud, like a sermon. How weird would that be? Okay, next comes, what could it hurt? Then comes the principle. I might do it. Or is this just the coffee talking, the hippie coffee talking? Hippie coffee for the win. And then next comes the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, flowing and changing and forever transforming, including you and me. Then I don't need this. The principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature. It's good to recognize what that nature is so that we can abide it and understand it. It's the nature of this coffee to kick ass. And then comes the pirate ride, the idea that free will is an illusion, that even though it feels like we're making choices, in fact we're really just abiding the universal, the forces, the greater forces of the universe around us. Not destiny, not God's intervening hand, not the touch of Jesus, but instead just the consequence of matter and energy cascading and flowing and all around us, pushing us one way or the other. Michael, if you see this, that conversation we had yesterday about the person you were telling me about, I don't know, it just came to mind with that, with the I don't know, just that just popped into my head, that person, with regard to that principle. Doesn't mean that I'm not suggesting to lift our hand, because you and I both have someone like that in our life, or I did. Lift our hand from that. But no, it doesn't mean that. And it doesn't mean destiny. Anyway, never mind. That's a problem with too much caffeine. It makes the words rise up through my mouth before I have a chance to think about them if I really want to say them. Next is the principle of maturity, and there are 3 sub-principles: wisdom, fortitude, and integrity. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and have the fortitude to do better and to apply these in the future, and then the integrity to be making choices that are in sound and in keeping with our principles. That sounds better. It helps to look at these. The social principle. There are 3 sub-principles here: diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. We are social creatures. We need each other, and we do better when we exercise diplomacy and being kind of political in our machinations, in our work with others, seeking after justice is one of our aims, and then willing to work with others, link arm in arm to conspire towards better ends. And then public speaking and the 4 sub-principles of small words: prudence, rumor, and gossip. Public speaking suggests to be very careful about what we say, deliberate, and to using appropriate vocabulary and language. To be using prudence, and prudence allows us to be considerate and thoughtful of what we're about to say or do relative to our values. It's like integrity, but it's different. Integrity is being sound, relevant to our values. Prudence is the deliberative effort that we do to come up with sound decisions. I got to look into that. I got to figure out exactly what the difference is between. Well, integrity is a result. Integrity is more of a noun. It's a state. Prudence is a verb. It's an action. It's an action. Prudence yields integrity, I think. And then rumor and gossip. No, I don't trade in those things. I don't pass along rumor, and I don't talk about other people behind their back. That's become a superpower of mine. I just don't do those things anymore. And I don't wear it on my sleeve. I don't throw it out there. It's not like I'm saying, you guys are all being gossips and I'm not going to do that. I just don't say anything, or I'll change the subject, or if I find myself going down that world, I have a standard, something that a standard issue thing that I say. I'm in a conversation with people, and if I start to gossip myself, I say, whoops, I think I'm starting to trespass on gossip. I'm not going to go there. And I chastise myself in front of others. Okay, now I have a couple that go together. Temperance, life will not go well, the horror show, that which must be borne, and the Feast of Offal, that's 5. Temperance is our ability to control our consumption of all things, including what we say. And there's sub-principles of suffering and simplicity. We suffer when we tell ourselves no, and a simple life is a temperate life. Next comes, life will not go well. Life will not go well. It's going to have speed bumps and difficulties along the way. We just have to expect that that's the case. And then the horror show. Life is not only is it not going to go well, it's going to be absolutely terrible sometimes. I mean, like just horrible. And this is where I take a moment, I borrow from Epictetus for a moment to imagine something terrible happening in my life. And what would I do with this? And it's really hard to do. It's easy to do if I apply it to myself. Like if I just say, I'm going to get cancer and die. That I can handle. It's tough when I apply it to others, but it's useful to apply to others. But let's see, I'll apply it to my dogs today. One of them, Ollie, sitting right here next to me. What if I was to walk the dogs this evening and walk by the park and encounter this has happened like 3 or 4 times since I've lived here, encounter a really big dog off leash. And this has happened too. I've had dogs attack us one time. And that dog attacks and gets Ollie. Maybe it's a big dog. Gets Ollie as I'm trying to scoop the dogs up. and kills him. Rips him open, or what's worse, doesn't kill him, but mortally wounds him, bleeding out everywhere. And while I'm trying to hold Rudy, and just rips Ollie to pieces, and then the dog gets away, or I kick the dog away or something, and then Ollie's bleeding out. I take him to the vet, and he's bleeding all over the place, and then he dies. God damn, that's hard. Did I think, this is where I try to put in the Epictetus part, did I think that I wasn't going to encounter a dog again? I've encountered dogs off leash 3 times and been attacked once since living here. Does that mean I should not walk the dogs? Maybe I should carry a stick? Maybe. Maybe a can of mace or something like that. Maybe. Thank you, Epictetus. Maybe this exercise is giving me good thought for caution. But did I think that I was immune to that I would not encounter another dog? And did I think that I could protect them when I've got two like that, and a big one comes out like that? Did I think that getting attacked and mauled would not result in that? And then if as I read yesterday in Epictetus, if there's so much smoke in the house, then why not leave the house? In this case, not voluntarily. Okay, that's enough of that. Damn hard exercise to do. The hardest part of this exercise. Friggin' heck. Okay, so that was the horror show. Friggin' heck. Okay, next is that which must be borne. What we have to bear is the horror friggin' show. It's real. It's happening to people. Just go through your damn Facebook feed. You won't have to go very far. You won't have to scroll more than 20 posts. You're going to find somebody giving evidence of their horror show. It's going on all around us. And every day, every one of those people, life is not going well. And that's what we have to bear until the smoke gets too much. And then we can leave the house. That's a tough thing too. Study the Stoic concepts and how they deal with the concept of suicide. Seneca in particular. I've discovered a little bit of Epictetus as well. It's tough. Even Marcus Aurelius talks about it. Those some tough-ass bastards. The Feast of Offal is the next one. The Feast of Offal, and that's again in this morning's reading of Rambler number 11. Dr. Johnson was talking exactly about, he didn't call it the Feast of Offal, he was talking exactly about that as well. It's the banquet of our suffering, what we give out when we've had enough. And what we spare, what we share in soil and make a mess of for others. I don't do that anymore at all. I don't even come close to that anymore. It used to be a danger. It used to strike me when I was in my 30s. It would strike me about every 3 months or so when I would have an episode, and Emily even remembers it a little bit from when she was little, and I wasn't violent by any ways, but I was verbally, and I was raging against myself. I would be upsetting against myself. I was like, God damn the cash thing, what the, all this kind of, I can feel it. God, it's gross. I can feel it coming back, and I don't do that anymore. I've trained myself away from that. I've trained myself by strong discipline and onboarding objectives and principles that help me to regulate that and keep it away. And also I've mellowed with age. Okay, here we have here's a twofer. Principle of distraction and then agency and the great indifference. Those two go together. Distraction is what we do when we don't want to see the fact that there seems to be no God. I say it's a fact. I say it. I am willing now to take on the strong atheist position that I would claim that God is an operationally evident fact, that God does not exist by the sheer lack of evidence that that's the case. So I render God not guilty of existing. I can't prove it, but I operate it, so that's the case. So, but so I don't need to distract myself by a thing to not see that fact. I don't need to say, la, 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 God exists. I can simply go on with life. But I do distract myself with to keep awake, keep away from the things that make me uncomfortable in other capacities. The next one, there's the best seat in the house is the next principle. To be all right with who I am, where I am, what I'm doing, to not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing anything else. I've got to find a better way to do this. I do it by that rote thing every damn time. It's to find a way to be comfortable in my circumstance while working to be better. It's a difficult thing to be all right now while striving for better. Okay, here comes another one that's got a couple together. The Restless Man, the Path of Wildness, and the Great Life Adventure, a threefer. The Restless Man, that's the state that we're in as humans when we're restless for something else. Our status quo just ain't quite cutting it. We'd rather be doing something else. We're restless. And I said deliberately man, although man could cover both men and women both, but I think it's mostly men, and I think it's part and parcel of our biology. Men back in the hunter-gatherer days were motivated to adventure, to go out and find, because that led us into new territory, fresh game, new resources, fresh water, people to trade with, etc. It also was risky and it was exciting. We still have that in us. That hasn't moved out of us, though we've domesticated ourselves, so to speak, civilized ourselves. So that thing, that restlessness, when we embark upon it, we move on to what I call the Path of Wildness, which is the Path of Wildness is that off-ramp into adventure, into a new life. And when back in the hunter-gatherers days, it would be when we decided to go up a valley we'd never been before. Now it's when we decide to have a new episode and chapter in our lives, and we take that up. The Path of Wildness is how we find that. We get on there, and it's tough to do, but it's also a way to break out of a status quo. Like I said, it's difficult to do. The great thing is, it's successful even if it fails. You can't fail on the Path of Wildness. The fact alone, I'm only now beginning to realize that. I used to caution that you might fail. You don't know what it means. Good for you if you fail. Good for you if you get broken and busted and disappointed and you'll lose out and on your Path of Wildness. Good for you if you die on your Path of Wildness. What a noble death to have died up a valley no one you hadn't been on before. There's some satisfaction in that. And then the Great Life Adventure is what comes of that if you live. Even if it was a desperate one. You've got a jewel of an experience in life. And Dr. Johnson has something to say that he says, he who continues the same course of life in the same place will have little to tell. Dr. Johnson. Next is the risk of avoiding risk. There's the deep and the surface level risks of life. The surface level risks of life are things like getting an education, getting a job, finding someone to marry, settle down with, buy a house, and save for retirement. It's easier to do. It's hard stuff, but it's easier to do because all of society is encouraging us to do that for the most part. There's whole institutions set up for that, schools and banks and corporations and churches. All families are all set up for that. The tricky one is attending to that little voice inside that you says, is there something more? That's where you go after the deep risk, right? The problem is if you don't go after that risk, it won't shut the friggin' hell up. It's going to keep at it all the time, all your life. And it's going to bother you more and more the older you get. And it's going to get harder to do. Really be careful if you decide you're going to postpone that until you're retired. Forget about it, because you're going to be old and weak and frail, and your mind is going to be set in its ways. And any adventures you take at that point will be surface level platitudes of the sort. I think that's the right word, platitude. It just feels like that's the right word. You need to have great life adventures that are meaningful. Do it when you're young, especially in your mid to late 20s. Go to university, and then when you're done with university, go home, give the diploma to your mom and dad or your whoever is the responsible person in your life. And if you don't have anybody responsible in your life, give it to a friend to hold on to, or put it in a bank vault, and then go off for 4 or 5 years until you're 30. And come back to us when you're 30, sunburnt, bruised, broken, scarred up, no clothes, no money, nothing, but with a wild look in your eyes, and wisdom of the experiences. And then take that diploma out, clean yourself up, get yourself a suit, go to those job interviews, get yourself start at the bottom and work your way up. Sure, the peers that you went to college with are 5 years ahead of you. They're already level two on the rank, right? Or maybe level 3. They're going to be your supervisors and managers for the rest of your career. You're probably never going to catch up unless you have some exceptional capabilities. But you know what? You will have your adventures in those long droning meetings that are going to come in your mid 30s, in your early 40s. And they're sitting there looking across the table, looking out the window saying, God damn it, what did I miss? And you're going to be sitting there remembering the things that you didn't miss. And even more so, if they were bad things that happened to you, and you survived them, and you became wise through the result. Okay, next is sin and damnation. There are 7 sins in my worldview. I think it's 7, or maybe it's 5. Falsity, credulity, faith, superstition, dogma, authority, and rumor. Don't do those damn things because they're sins. You'll live in the sins against reason, and you'll live sins against virtue, and you'll live a damn life here and now, no afterlife. Complete oblivion. If there is no afterlife, there is no soul, there is no God, there's no heaven or hell. Then when you're dead, you're dead. You're not going to see anybody after you're dead. You're not going to have a chance to make up any bad relationships, and you're not going to see any justice afterwards. So do it now. The season of philosophy is a time to record what we've learned along the way. Keep your pen and paper handy. Write it all down in the notes. The bullseye aim, shooting for the mark, realizing you're probably going to miss. That's the way it goes. Don't expect too much in that capacity, but keep trying. The uphill climb, trudge is today another day. Did you trudge today, or did you sit on the sofa and watch a rerun? I hope you did the former. Arena and utility. Life is an arena for the utilization of our principles in the endeavor towards our objectives. Nothing is enough. Trying to release ourselves of our wants and our desires, and the peace that comes of settling on the inner self-control, recognizing what is within our control, and making decisions on the route to virtue. Where again, virtue is the pursuit of the improvement of the well-being of thinking creatures. And then finally, the principle of fun. Try to have some fun today, and then have some fun with looking forward to tomorrow, and have some fun with remembering yesterday. Very good, a long one today, stimulated by Hippie coffee. I think this is the coffee I'm going to be drinking for the rest of my life. What do you think of that? If you get this far, what do you think about the idea of me doing sermons, of getting a little table that you can unfold, putting a stack of Going Alone up there and standing up there, maybe on a soapbox, reciting the Good Life Creed? Is that nuts? Take care. Be safe, but not too safe.